Y'all, at 6 o'clock, I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Bandera on Thursday, June 18, 2020, at 6 o'clock. All council is present with the exception of Lynn Palmer. The city secretary is here, the city administrator is here. Our auditor, Keith Nevendorf, is present to give us our audit for 2018-19. I believe Dan will be joining us later, but at present he's not online. Item 2 is visitors to be heard. We did get one email in, which is the new way that we're doing this now. Lynn, you want to read that, please?
Jill, yes,
You're
I
not
will.
Lynn, you're
Jill
Jill.
Shelton, City Secretary. I received a email today and from Doris Nelson at 203 13th Street, and she says, thank you for letting me address the City Council regarding City Council Meeting 6-4, presentation by City Engineer Derek Nizer. And she says, I understand the problems with erosion at the city park with the water runoff from the streets above the park. The city engineer Derek Nizer presented a solution of collecting that water into pipes and rerouting it to the Medina River below the dam. My concern is that diverting the water may cause flooding, especially with the additional water from drainage through the city ditch system to the Medina River at 14th Street. How will this affect flooding of Pioneer RV Park, other businesses, and other properties downstream? I also have concerns about the additional water diversion into the drainage ditch system through town. Cowboy Pizza was mentioned as a concern, but I feel there are other businesses to address. The infrastructure through that area includes city utilities and buried sewer lines. As I said, I know there are current problems, but I want to make sure that all angles are considered and that the solutions do not create unintended new problems. Thank you, Doris Nelson.
Thanks, Doris. Okay, moving on, item 3 is the consent agenda. Item 4 approval of minutes for the meeting held on June 4th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Rebecca makes a motion to approve. Jerry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, none opposed. Item 4 is the regular agenda. Item 8 is the presentation of the 2018-2019 audit by Nevendorf and Kopp. Here's Keith.
Okay, thank you all. I guess I can stand up, or can you hear me all right? Usually nobody has any trouble hearing me.
I think I can hear you whether you're sitting or standing, so wherever you're most comfortable.
Yeah, been told that by many people, but anyway, we appreciate you all having us over, and this also is Haley Blocker. She's a CPA. She's started working with us 4 years ago, and she's learning governmental accounting and doing a good job. And she's also from a small town of Harper. Don't know where that is, so we always like good people. The audit report for the city itself is a unqualified, clean opinion, which everybody strives for and gets, or tries to get. And as you well know, in the past, we had a couple of years where it was pretty rough. We didn't get that. Now we've improved. The city is still going forward, and we're making improvements thanks to Jay and Amber, and they've been working hard to get all the accounting and the numbers straight. And so we're moving along down the road in what I feel like a lot better shape than we were 3 years ago. And also you'll remember, and I'll just go over this briefly, I don't want to put your heads full of a bunch of GASB statements, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, but there are 2 of them that you need to be aware of, because it's important from the city. You all remember the Texas Municipal Retirement System, okay? And that retirement system under GASB 68 requires you to include a liability on your financial statements. That number is generated by this report from them. And you, as council members, citizens, or anybody else can look at these and grab them off their website. This report is used, it's 35 pages. We have to put the numbers in y'all's financial statements, okay? GASB 75, OPEB liability. What does that stand for? Other post-employment benefits. You say, well, we don't have an OPEB. Yeah, you do. As members of the TMRS, you pay a small portion to a contribution to a fund called the Supplemental Death Benefits Fund that pays $7,500 to death of an active member or retiree. Governmental Accounting Standards Board make us recognize that liability on your financial statements, okay? Those are the two items that you need to be aware of. Now, the best part of it is, from a budgeting and setting the tax rate standpoint, you still just budget your contribution to the system. Nothing changes. So there's no, you have a liability, but you don't have to fund that. Your funding mechanism is still the same thing as you've always done. Whatever you have to pay is your monthly contribution, that's what we budget to set the tax rate on. Everybody clear on that? As a mother? And guess what, that retiree benefit, $7,500. You know what that liability, you know what that cost you last year? $1,200. That was your portion of the contribution that y'all made. What does that cost us as auditors? 5 pages of additional disclosure and 3 statements. So that's why I want to point out, you gotta keep this, you know, what you need to know to run the city. And I'm just giving you these liabilities so you're aware of them. But you don't really need to, you know, you just need to know that you have a liability, but that is funded and y'all are taking care of it, okay? All right, to the statements themselves. After the index, table of contents on page 1 and 2 is the independent audit report. This is says we made an audit of the city as of September 30th, 2019. And in the second page is our opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly the financial position of the city as of September 30th, 2019, and changes in financial position for the year then ended. This is the standard auditor's clean opinion letter. That's what everybody strives for, unqualified opinion. So that's good. After that, in the financial statements, starting the section pages 3 through 8, management discussion analysis. This is a requirement of the GASB where we take y'all's financial information and include it in a condensed financial format and give a summarized for financial highlights. It's real good for your readers, and you can, I've been told by many of them, you get more out of those 5 pages than you can the 40-something that follow, but since I'm here, I do my own highlights. But if you want a good brief overview and condensed financial statements, that's the place to turn to. The statements we give an opinion on start on page 9. In the first 2 statements, the 2 exhibits of A1 and B1 are the GASB 34 model, and those are the ones that include all your capital assets, long-term debt, and those retirement and pension liabilities. You come up with a net income just like a business. Then later in the C section we come to the fund financial statements, and that's really what y'all need for operating the city. These statements are good to know, but like I said, they include all your capital assets, depreciation, and have a lot more liabilities like the pension and the retirement and OPEB liabilities. So you can see the government activities, that of course is your general hotel motel fund. The business type activities, of course, is your water, sewer, utility fund, then you have the total. And basically the numbers are pretty similar to the prior year. You used a little bit of your cash, but you had several improvements and projects that increased your capital assets. And then the overall condition, you can see for the government activities, you had a total net position. Your assets exceeded your liabilities by $3,743,000. In the utility fund, your assets exceeded your liabilities, a net position of $3,878,381. So overall, you can see that the city, on both accounts, was in good financial shape, with a net position of $7,621,958. When I was referring to the net pension liability, you can see that under your liabilities, the second last item there is called net pension liability for the TMRS. The city's liability that year was $72,881. And for that OPEB liability, the retiree death benefit for the $7,500, that liability was $76,137. And that's the component unit. The Economic Development Corporation has a separate column, and you can see at the end of the year, the assets exceeded the liabilities at a net position of $796,832. It was also in good shape, but it did also spend more money than it took in last year. And we'll see that on pages 10 and 11, where you see the net income or statement activities for the city as a whole. And it's divided into those 3 groups: the governmental activities, your general fund, and hotel motel fund. You can see the total expenses, the first column including depreciation, were $1,725,674. And if you follow that column on across, you have the changes for offset by charges for services, parks, fees collected, and also your municipal court and building permits, and then you have your operating grants, and you have your capital grants, the monies you receive to offset some grant income. And you come up with your net expense of $1,092,465, and now that's finance is shown below with your property taxes, general sales and use tax, franchise hotel taxes, and the total general revenues were $1,026,928. So you had a net loss, $65,537. Utility fund, it had a net income last year of $476,511. Of course, most of that was due to the operating grants you received, the $297,777. And then the total you see for the city as a whole last year, you had a net income of $410,974. The Economic Development Corporation, that total expense is $510,085 after the portion of the sales tax it gets as revenues, $290,130. It had a net loss of $218,550. And you can see it reduced the fund balance or net position from over $1 million down to $796,832. Then we get to the fund financial statements. These are the ones that are used by the city in setting the budget and the tax rates. The first one on page 12 is the balance sheet that just shows for each one of the major funds. The general fund, the hotel, motel, and the capital projects, and then total. You can see your general fund is in real good shape as the assets exceed the liabilities with net fund balance of $1,733,407. Likewise for the hotel, motel, tax fund, it had a net fund balance of $69,115. And of course the capital projects fund, that's just a fund used to account for the monies that are received from grants and loans to do the various capital improvements projects you had going, so therefore it doesn't have a fund balance. You get the money in, you spend it, or you have to send it back, so there's no carryover. And then finally the totals you can see on the far hand show the total assets minus the liabilities. Your net total fund balance for the city is $1,802,522. Excellent or good fund balance for a city this size. You take that fund balance on page 13. These are the reconciling items to get it to GASB 34. It just shows the items as listed there. Of course, the main ones are adding back capital assets minus the accumulated depreciation, adding back the net pension liability, and also the OPEB liability, and then coming up with the changes in accrual accounting for taxes receivable and fines receivable to come up with the net position on the GASB 34. Page 14 is the fund financial statement showing the revenues and expenditures for last year. General fund, the revenues exceeded the expenditures by $70,307. You transferred out to the water and sewers, you had a net change positive $21,307. Hotel, motel, tax fund, expenditures exceeded revenues by $3,250. Reduced the fund balance to $69,115. And then in the capital projects, for the collection of the grants that you received for those projects minus the expenditures, and you showed zero fund balance. Like I said before, that money's you receive back from the grants to pay the expenditures you spend on those programs. Then the total column shows last year the revenues exceeded the expenditures by $130,356 after transfers to the utility fund, which was a net change positive $18,057. So you take that net change, $18,057 to page 15, and you have the similar type reconciling items to get it to GASB 34. We add back the current year capital outlay, subtract your depreciation expense, and adjust for your GASB 6875 retirement OPEB liabilities, and then you adjust for your taxes and fines receivable to come up with the net position. Page 16 is just another financial statement separate for the water and sewer utility fund. These numbers are the same as we've gone over in front, so there's no changes there. The same way, it just shows your separate items for your water and sewer fund. Same way on page 18 is your operating statement showing the net operating income for the water and sewer fund was $81,059. Then after subtracting the interest expense and then adding back the capital contribution and transfers, you had a net change positive on page 19 of $476,511. Pages 20 And 21 are cash flow statement. This just shows the generation of cash by the water and sewer fund, what it was used for under financing. You can see you acquired capital assets and you paid bond principal payments in accordance with agreements. So in the end, you used up $64,836 of your cash. But you had a substantial amount of improvements. You did over $576,000. The notes starting on page 22 are just the requirements required by generally accepted accounting principles. The first part of the notes just explain the fund accounting switch over to CASB 34. The notes I need to point out start over on page 27. Deposits and investments. The city is required to comply with the Public Funds Investment Act at the end of the year. The balances at the bank were secured by FDIC coverage and/or pledged securities. Then on the page 28, it shows your investments at the end of the year. Showing your CDs at the local banks, the Bandera Bank, Hill Country National, Hondo National, and those investments at the bank were secured by FDIC coverage and/or pledged securities. Therefore, all your deposits and investments complied with the Public Funds Investment Act. The next one, restricted assets, of course, the Texas Water Development Board, when you would get loan proceeds, then they require you to set up an escrow account, and the monies at the end of the year on hand in that escrow account were $2,731,675. And then page 29 just shows your changes in your capital assets. As last year you had several projects going and you had added a good amount to your capital assets. The first one at the top of the page shows the utility fund, and then the depreciation expense for the utility fund, and the same way midway down the capital assets for the government activities, and then the depreciation expense for the governmental activities. Page 30 shows compliance with the debt. You paid in accordance with your debt agreements for both the 2018 COs and the 2006 refunding bonds. That shows your principal reductions of $120,000. So you reduce your debt down to $3,126,255. And then it also shows the changes in those liabilities, the pension and the TMRS OPEB liabilities. Page 30 at the bottom just shows the different issues for the bond, the two series outstanding, and amount due and the principal and interest. And finally on page 31 we get to the TMRS retirement plan. That's that 5-page notes of closure that's given to us. It just goes through and gives all the summary of the contributions, their assumptions, what they invest in. And then on page 33, midway down, shows your liability for y'all. City was $72,881 last year. Likewise, starting on page 34, the OPEB liability does the same thing, gives a description, actuarial assumptions, investments, discount rates, and shows on page 36 your liability for your city was $76,137. Page 37 starts the notes on the Economic Development Corporation. That just shows that their monies also at the bank were secured by FDIC insurance and/or pledged securities. And then it also gives a summary of their capital assets on page 38. And their portion, they pay a portion of y'all's refunding bond series 2006. And then it also gives a summary the same way of the amounts due under those agreements for the next 5 years. And then that's about it. Notes on page 40 is the budget actual statement for the governmental fund general. Shows your compliance to the budget. Last year your budgeted revenues were $1,352,401. You actually collected $1,394,325. Positive variance $41,924. The expenditures you budgeted $1,401,361. You spent $1,324,018. Positive variance $77,343. So you can see overall you planned a deficit of $48,960 on your budget. Actually was $21,000, so you had a positive variance to the budget $70,267. That's always good when you have positive variances. We like that. We all do too. If you haven't had enough TMRS liability, then it goes into a 4-page statement that we have to show in a supplemental. The only good thing about this thing, it shows a 5-year summary, which will have eventually be a 10-year build out. The only thing you have to look at is line C, the net pension liability, and line D, the percentage of funded that you all are. You can see each year, actually in the past, you were assets, so you were over 100% funded. Then last year, Investments didn't do as good, so you dropped your liability, but you're still 97.05% funded. And of course, with the coronavirus, those numbers will keep going down because the investments have been bad. It's coming back a little bit, we hope. And that's it for the basic report, because like I say, the other numbers we've already gone over, they just reiterate the fund, the liabilities for the TMRS and the OPEB liabilities. Two letters in the back. First one on compliance and internal control. In addition to our audits, we also had to test internal control due to our financial reporting. We found no major weaknesses. And under compliance, we had to test for compliance with laws, contracts, and grants. We found no instances of non-compliance. So both of those were good. Good job. The last letter, the supplemental letter that's required by the government auditing standards, is we, the independent auditor, have to provide to you, the governing body, the city council, and mayor. These items are listed there. Seated audit matters. There were none, and we've already adopted all the new GASBs, so we're complying with them, thank God. Where difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no corrected or uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management, and no other consultations. And then finally, at the bottom page, in the prior year, we've made some recommendations about developing an accounting manual. It still needs to be done. And then the same way, there are also some items in regards to recommendations regarding the inventory used for fixed assets. And also getting a summary of the materials and supplies on hand at the end of the year. We've already talked to Amber about a couple of these, and she's going to get our depreciation schedule and look over them. So, good job. The city still has some money. The fund balances have stayed. And that's important going into this, as we all well know that could be some differences coming down with the virus and the potential for some drop in sales tax, although y'all haven't seen that yet, but it still looks like it might be coming. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
I'm so proud that it's 3 in a row now.
That's right. We've come a long way.
We have come a long way.
We've come a long way.
Oh, yes, we have.
We're not quite there yet, but we're getting good. We're getting close.
Closer and closer every year.
But that's just the auditor. Auditor's never happy with, unless it's all.
Hey, you're grinning.
Yeah,
You're
it's
fine.
better. It's a lot better.
All right. Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
Item B is approval of the 2018-19 audit by Neffendorf and Knopf.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Rebecca. Second. Jerry, second. Discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. All right, with council's permission, we have Dan on standby to speak with us.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Guys. Good
Good
to
to
see
see you
you.
here, Dan.
You bet. Very well.
About the EDC matters, so with your permission, council, I'd like to move item F up and consider down behind item B.
Yes.
Let me get it
So,
here real quick.
item F is discussion of possible action on the following matters involving the Bandera Economic Development Corporation. Number 1 is accepting the resignation of board members from the BEDC Board of Directors.
I'd like to move to accept that, but effective immediately for all
Would
three.
you name the name? Okay, we have Rhonda Carroll's resignation,
Rhonda Carroll, Tony Coons, and Laura Davenport.
effective immediately. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second this motion.
Don seconds. Discussion? Rebecca?
I'm just curious why with the two that say effective June 30th, why you would want to make it effective immediately. And I just wonder what kind of work the president and the vice president of the board are trying to get done and wrapped up neatly for the city to allow a smooth transition of those seats.
Due to the previous meetings that have occurred with EDC, there's been very little cooperation among them, and I think that it'll just cause more difficulties.
Do you, Jill, may I ask
Yes.
the city secretary a question?
Yes.
Do you, as far as records and ongoing business, Do you feel like it's appropriate, or is there still work for Tony and Laura to be doing and providing to the city before their transition out?
Well, I can't say what's appropriate or not appropriate in the position I'm in, but I can say that they have, at present time, received current applications for the stimulus program, that 2 just came in today, so they're still in the middle of, I know, trying to finalize the new ones coming in, and finishing up some of the old ones that they were just missing data here and there on. Tony and Laura both met today with the auditors, so, they came in and had their meeting with them today. So there are some things that they're still working on, but as far as giving my opinion, I can't really say that.
I understand, thank you for that.
But we do have records currently here that, most of the applications, except anything that has come in the last week, that they're currently working or trying to get information on.
Jerry?
And the applications themselves should be very easily handled by the remaining board, I feel. They should be able to handle that. They know the guidelines, they've been already handling it, and I don't see where their assistance is probably really needed or necessary at this
Don?
point.
Mayor, I do agree with Jerry. I think that once someone has resigned, normally the resignations are accepted right away. So, and that's my reason for seconding the motion.
Okay. Any
Okay,
comments?
no, I'm good with that.
Okay. Ready to go to a vote? All right, so the motion is to accept the resignation of board members
Excuse me.
Rhonda Carroll, Tony Coons, and Laura Davenport, effective immediately. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. All right, then that's out of the way. Item 2 is the removal of some or all of the remaining directors of the BEDC who may be removed by the city council at any time without cause pursuant to section 505.051 of the local government code. Rebecca?
I would like to make a motion to remove Lynn Palmer from the Bandera EDC.
Do you have a second?
No,
Do I have a second?
doesn't seem so.
Okay, that one dies for lack of a second.
Okay.
Do I have another motion, council? Jerry, are you gonna make them?
Who's left on the
I'm sorry.
EDC after these
I just
three?
want to make sure.
Okay, wait just a
Resign.
minute, Jerry. Who remains?
Yeah, who remains on that,
Andrea, Lee Correll,
No, I'm fine.
Darcy Hasty, and Lynn Palmer.
okay, so the ones that are working now could do what the 3 that are resigning was doing?
You know, that's
I mean, we're not leaving a big hole there where they can't do what they're supposed to do.
well, here's, no, those 4 can still function as a quorum of the EDC.
Okay, that
Okay.
was my question.
Now, Jill and Jay and I are signers. I know Tony and Laura are both signers, and they've now been removed from the picture, so we still have the signatures to sign, so
Okay.
that's not an issue.
Okay.
Yes, Jerry?
Can that just be handled by the city people?
No,
You-
EDC has to cut
Okay.
checks, EDC
So we'll
has
have
to
to-
issue checks, and we just sign them and approve the final step.
The EDC will appoint another signer
Okay.
of the remaining board members,
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
or 2. I don't know.
I agree, Mayor. I think that we should at least leave part of the board intact. I don't want to see us just disband everybody and
Yeah.
have to start over. We need some experience there, and we have a little. So that would be my opinion.
Well, Andrea's the other one that served more than, she served 1 complete term. The other 3 were recently appointed by council, so they're fairly new.
Still new.
And we're coming into budget, and I'd just like to see this stimulus program closed up, get started on budget, and see where we go from there.
I
So
agree.
4 can function. Jerry?
And they can come to us for direction
Absolutely.
correct? So they've got all the experience here to help them through any difficulties they may come across.
But
Yeah,
we still have you and, you know, everybody here to work with them.
right, and yes, and we have been working
I
with
think
them, we'll
it's a good
continue to work with
idea.
them. Okay, do I have another motion?
Are we still on item 2 or are we on item 3?
Item
We're still
2.
on item 2, to remove some or all. Do I have another motion? All right, let's move on to item 3. Appointment of director to the BEDC to fulfill the remainder of the 2-year unexpired terms of those removed pursuant to section 505.051 and 505.052 of the local government code. Rebecca.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jared Wilcox to the county seat that has been vacated by Rhonda Corral. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Second? Do I have a second? Okay, that motion dies. Might I say this to council before you move any further appointments? There are 4 right now who can function. And we'll work closely with them to get everything done that we can possibly help them get done. We can advertise again for people who want to be appointed. Rebecca, did you have another motion to make? Please.
I'd like to make a move to appoint you, Mayor Shaman, to the EDC board to fill one of the vacancies, at least temporarily until we get some more applications in.
Is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion.
Thank you. May I discuss?
Sure.
You know, it seems really hypocritical for me to even consider doing this, because I don't believe that council members should serve on the EDC. However, in an interim position, until they can get a board, get new officers, I could, be a daily contact. I don't have a full-time job, most of those ladies do. I would be willing to be a part of this on an interim basis. Let's be sure that we understand that. Not necessarily to fulfill this whole unexpired 2 years. When you find your board members, I will gladly step down. Any further discussion?
Yeah, and my original thought was to move to postpone any appointments, but I do see the great value in having you involved at this point, as long as we do understand that once we have other people to appoint, we may or may not continue,
Absolutely, and I
Okay.
certainly understand that, and I hope you certainly understand that too.
I can see
Don?
value there.
Mayor, I agree with Jerry, and over the past years, we've tried to keep too many council members and things off of the EDC, because council members are very opinionated. And sometimes, including the mayors, try to push your feelings a little more so than what we should. I agree with Jerry on this, that if you'll serve until we get a full board back, and then you'll resign from that, I'd be willing to go with it too, because I think you'll do a good job.
Any other comments?
You're not gonna overload yourself with this? I mean,
Oh, well, you see, here's the deal. No, as of today, we've hired another cook, so that's all good. So no, my business sort of runs on its own, and my daughter's in charge of that once she gets out of the hospital.
as far as other business for the city,
No, my mayor's job, thank you, Jill and Jay, is really pretty simple. We meet on a regular basis, we discuss things that have come up between y'all or citizens or each other, but I don't have an 8 to 5 job here at the city.
yeah, I just don't want, you to be overwhelmed with everything. I'm just looking out for you.
But I think it's probably a distraction for her.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Something else to
I
focus
appreciate your
on.
concern, but really, the city is doing quite well without my
Full-time.
full-time
Okay,
presence.
I understand now.
So, and
Okay,
it's not
I was
full,
just,
if you think I'm working full-time for $60 a month, you need to rethink this whole position,
okay, well, I just didn't want.
No, thank you, Rosie, I appreciate your concern.
Okay.
I truly do. Don, did you want to say something?
Well, I was just gonna compliment you and say that you got your hands full right now, and we've got some good staff that can take care of most of these problems that we have, so let's go with it.
All right, do I have a vote? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Do I have another motion?
Mayor, I need to just make a statement that we did receive one application today. If this agenda item was going to be discussed, that no one has seen yet, because it came in today for application for consideration of appointment for the EDC from Deanna McCabe.
Okay. Dawn?
I'd like to see us not accept any applications right now until they've all been reviewed. And, you know, and pick the right people, not saying that we're not, this might be a great
You mean
person.
right now at this
At
meeting?
this minute, yeah.
Okay, but we do want to go ahead and get
Oh,
applications
sure, we want to
in.
get the, yeah, take applications.
So if we need to make a motion to do that, I would like to move that we take applications until July 16th, I'm sorry, our next city council meeting, or of that month. Okay, is that correct?
The
For
second
July?
city council meeting in July.
I guess that's 16th. Is that the 16th?
Yeah.
That's not the
Okay.
second, is it? Is that the second?
Second is the first meeting.
Yeah.
The second is the first meeting, the 16th is the second meeting.
Okay.
Do you run an ad in the newspaper?
The second is not the second. Council.
The second is the second, but it's the first meeting.
So that was a motion, Nazim.
I'll second his
Okay.
motion.
And Dawn seconds. Discussion? All in favor?
My only discussion would be,
I'd like to hear it.
we're going to, so your motion is to actually put that item on the July 16th
To-
agenda.
Yeah,
Consider,
consider and possible
Appointments.
action of
Appointments.
appointment.
Sure.
Is
Because
that-
applications are received, right, I mean, you can
Do you think
fill
that's-
an application
Can
whenever.
I ask? Do you
Yes.
think, does everyone feel that that's enough time or
Sure.
too long?
It's fine.
Do they put newspaper, put it in the newspaper? for
we do, we
Well,
have
and
tons
on
of newspaper
website.
put on our website.
Okay.
And plus word of
our-
mouth.
Yeah,
Word of
our
mouth,
and our Facebook page, the City of Bandera. Okay, so actually, I guess we could go ahead and take that as a motion, that would be an agenda item for later, but let's go ahead and make that, take that vote. All in favor?
Favor.
All in favor, none opposed, okay. July 16th. All right. I'll reach out to the other board members and see if they want to get together as a group and as individuals and touch base and see what we have left to do. Okay. Item C. Consideration and possible action on a resolution adjusting the fee schedule for the Bandera City Park beginning July 1, 2020. Jay?
Oh, okay.
But if y'all have not been by the park lately, we are getting slammed during the week. A very odd year anyway, but some of the things that I put in here I would like to kindly change up. I put in there at first that I'd like to see us charge all week. After thinking about it more and discussing with some people, I don't think that's a great idea. We have a lot of people.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I don't think it's a great idea to charge for the full week. But I would like to see us charge Friday through Sunday and Monday, of course, if it's a holiday. And the reason I don't want to do that is a lot of people go down there and eat lunch. Of course, we have our walkers that go exercise, you know, in the mornings and the evenings. We can't let them go through unless we charge them because we can't tell somebody, well, they're just walking through the park. So that's my reason behind that. But we are, on the weekends, the boys are picking up between 1,000 and 1,500 pounds of trash. I mean, every dumpster is full. Yes, sir?
That could be a good thing. I mean, in some aspects.
Well, it
In the
is.
fact that we're getting a lot of business out there.
Oh, it is, and,
Yeah.
but of
But I
course it
understand
is,
what you're saying.
you know, it's pushing, you know, we hire high school kids or kids right out of high school to do this, and so far they've been doing a good job, but they're stretched out there. But the money has been looking very good. We're carrying more money bringing in on the weekends now, around 8,000 to 8,500 a day, which is the most
Wow.
that's ever been brought in since I've been here, even on big holidays.
Do we know how much revenue is generated during the week? Or would,
None.
right?
There is, because we don't charge during.
There's no projection
Right.
even, right?
But-
There's no guesstimate.
our parks during the week are full of people also from other cities that's coming over. A lot of people are still not working and they're coming to Bandera to enjoy the park or get away from San Antonio, Austin, wherever some of them may be coming from. But I think we can catch some of this revenue by opening up on Friday, and I'd also like council to consider raising the rates for admission into the park from $5 to $10.
Is that for everyone?
Well, I've got it
County.
structured, yes, but general admission per se would be $10 a person. Of course, seniors, there's other incentives to where there's discounts given, and but if we keep charging $5, we're not going to make a lot of money. And I'm not trying to keep people out of the park, but we have to keep the park the park. I don't know how else to say it. And you know, people don't respect the properties. When they leave the trash in the middle of the river. They leave chairs, barbecue pits in the middle of the river. You'd be surprised at what's left in that park after the day is over.
Does Kerrville charge to go in their park area?
Yes, sir, they do.
What do they charge?
I know, well, I don't know, I think it's $8 a person, I think, but don't hold me to that.
I know we need to go up on the price on the rates, but boy, $10 just scares the heck out of me. That's just a lot of money.
Don, our locals, our city residents are free if they'll just come get their
I
pass.
understand.
If y'all wanted to make an exception to the county
I will-
residents
I
as
will.
well,
Yeah.
they must come
Maybe
and
half
get,
price or something.
you know, they could get the annual pass for $100. Okay, that would get 2 people in for the entire season for $100,
Well, that-
if we agree to go up.
But that's good, I like that.
Wait a second, that's for, please, that's for the county people.
Mhm.
I think anybody out of county should pay $10 to get in there for an adult, $5 for a kid, $5 for a veteran, a police officer, whoever, because that is our big money maker.
Always has been, that's right.
It's not self-supporting by a long shot. That money goes into the general fund, which helps us to take care of other things besides the park. But I think that maybe by going up, if we do go up, if council agrees to go up, I think, Rosie, they could address your concern about weekdays. You wanna tell council what you spoke with me about earlier?
I go across that bridge, I live up on that hill, Rue Hill. And you go across the bridge the day after they've been down there in the park, and the buzzards are going through the trash. And there's trash all over the ground around it. And I'm sure the raccoons are hitting it at night too. I propose we we get one of our employees to go in at noon and work until they close the park, picking up that trash, so that it's not sitting there overnight.
And this is during the week, when we don't have our seasonal park people.
Well, that and on Sunday, when they don't pick it up.
They do pick it up on Sunday.
They do, Sunday in the night?
Yes.
Okay,
do
they
that.
need to do it during the week too, until all this virus goes away. Once the virus goes away, I think our weekly is gonna drop tremendously.
I agree. yeah.
Once people get back to work.
Don?
I wanted to mention, or ask you something, Jay. At one time, we talked about having a park patrol, somebody in there just riding up and down in one of these golf carts we've got, and having park patrol on the side of it, on occasions. It impresses people, it's a safety thing, and plus, if he sees somebody dumping trash out there or whatever, he can write them a ticket.
Right, and we do that on the weekends.
Well, I've never seen anybody on weekends other than just drive through and go out.
We do have reserves that's working weekends at the park.
All day?
Yes, sir.
Are we writing any tickets or doing anything?
Yes, they are writing them.
As a matter of fact.
Most of the tickets written are for speeding, alcohol, DWI, things like that. As far as littering, I'm not aware of how many tickets have been written for littering.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. The police just drive through on different occasions. They're not timed to be in there all day.
Well, the reserves are in there, I'm gonna say a lot more than our regular
Oh, I'm
officers
sure.
are. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I'm sure. But, if we're gonna raise it to $10 on these days, I believe we could afford to pay somebody could be deputized probably, just go in there, out carrying a gun, you know, that could write people a ticket.
Well, these are some options, guys, that we're not gonna be able to solve tonight. We've got some things we've kicked around, some things that we can bring up. We're going to the budget very soon. Those will be things that we can certainly bring up at budget. I think Lynn emailed in a statement yesterday or the day before, and it's pertinent to the park. So I'd like to allow her to be read by Jill, please.
Yes, so Lynn was not able to be present due to the funeral that she's at in Del Rio and asked for me to read a couple of statements on some of the items. So on this one, she says, I would be for increasing the park fee to $10 for general admission on the weekends. My concern about charging during the week is that we have many local business owners and their employees, county citizens that enjoy the park during the week for their lunch breaks. Charging would prevent them from enjoying the city park. The whole community uses the park for exercise during the week. There is a lot of walkers, joggers, and people walking in just to feed the ducks and squirrels. I would be for Bandera County residents to be free during the week with proof of ID.
Well, right now, you're also having a lot of people parking on First Street, Rue Hill, whichever you want to call the road, and walking in. Even on the weekends, they're parking down there and going in without paying. I went over the bridge the other day, and there had to have been 25 people jumping off that bridge into the water. They're a hazard because they won't hardly get out of your way when you go by. And we go up and down that bridge quite a bit. And also, they're going on the other side of the bridge on the private property.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. Of course, we tell them, you can't cross the river, you can't go on this property, that's private property, but we can't stop it, that's county property when they cross the river like that. You know, and if they stay in the water, we can't do anything to them.
Well, I
in
understand
the
that,
water.
yeah, I understand that.
But I know they go down that, whatever, Courtney Ranch,
Yeah.
and there's a place back there, they all go and party and whatever else they do back there. And Dripping Springs, same thing, they go across the river, those rocks. You know, I mean, it's bad, it really is.
Jerry?
Do you have any idea, do you think we get a lot of people from out of the county during the week?
Yes.
sir.
Do we have anything in place where we could charge?
No, not right now, we
You're
don't.
not gonna be able to find out.
So what would, I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it. What would we have to do to be able to charge?
Council would have to basically amend the fee schedule to charge during the week and set it up however they see fit.
That would also involve, hiring somebody to man the gate?
Yes.
Do you think it'd be worth it to do that?
This year, yes, I think it would. But then again, and like I say, after I thought about this, I'm not going to use the RV park there next to the river, for example. A lot of those people walk through the river, under the bridge, by the river, back and forth for exercise, just walking, whatever. That would be, my concern is, if you don't charge them, it's very hard to charge Mr. Smith that come from somewhere else.
Rebecca?
Just a thought is that you could strictly charge vehicle traffic, and you could specify that county residents and city residents don't pay during the week.
That's
Driver's
what I-
license.
Yeah, they have a driver's license, they can show that they live in the city or in the county.
Well, we have
And then-
certificates.
Could we come up with an idea of some way of providing a pass to the RVers?
I brought that to council a while back.
Oh, really?
And we got
I
shot
mean-
down.
Well,
Annual passes are for
change.
sale, and we could definitely have a reduced rate pass, or something like that. But,
Yeah,
again,
go ahead.
if you don't raise the rates for the passes, then 4 of us go in there at $10 a head, why spend 40, spend 10 more, and I can go all year and bring my buddies.
Well, right now, all us locals can go down on that street, Road Hill, and go into that gate there and not have to pay. or walk over the fence
True.
to walk in the park, walk their dogs, eat their lunches. They don't give tickets for no parking during the week. They don't run them off during the week. So, you know, she puts a letter out every week or every month with her water bill. She could put in there, if you want to go to the park and walk, go across the fence, don't go through the gates. I mean, you know what
I'm sorry, you know why I'm laughing? Because I have visions of people who read by letter online and go,
Okay, well-
oh, well, I don't have to go through the gate, I'll just
Well,
go
there's-
through the fence.
But there's a lot of them that do that.
I know, there's a lot of people
A
that do it
lot of
anyway.
people that probably go down there and drop their 6 or 7 kids off. They'll go
Yeah.
in the river, meet me halfway at the picnic table, and I'll
Yeah.
pay $20 for me and Mama.
I
Mayor,
agree.
Mayor.
Jill,
Yes, Jill.
So I have a few things to say since I'm actively part of the park and see and know what goes on down there on the weekends and have been for many years. The park people, the park manager continually watches people cross that gate. He approaches them and tells them that they have to go to the front and put on an armband and buy an armband or they have to leave. If they don't, he calls the marshal and they go down and take care of it. This happens every weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So we have different color armbands every day, every weekend, so we watch for the people. Tons of them do it. The second thing is, I've been down there on the weekends and they run people off the bridge like crazy. So the marshals are patrolling First Street. They patrol it during the week, some people that live close to there can probably hear them on the loudspeaker, yelling at people in the river, telling them if they don't move their cars, they're gonna be towed, writing tickets. This weekend, 2 marshals both days ran radar in the park. They wrote tickets, they made arrests. So usually on holiday weekends is when we have extra reserves down there. We have a guy that rides a bike that patrols the park. But nobody anticipated these normal weekends to be as busy as they've been. Like this past weekend, it was like a 4th of July weekend. We had double the amount of people that we did not know were coming. So we had to do what we could do to get everybody banded. But they are actively, they're not the police. These are $10 an hour employees that we pay to go down there, and they can't have confrontations with these people. These are people that are coming from other areas that are not nice. We've had a fight almost every weekend down in the park, so they can only do so much until somebody else gets there that has some authority. But they are doing their best to try to get them up to the gate to buy an armband.
Rebecca.
May I make a motion?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the park entry fee to $10 for out-of-county residents, and to extend the admission charging day to begin on Friday.
On Friday, tomorrow Friday?
No, I'm sorry, just to clarify what I mean is that it would be
add
charged Friday through Sunday.
Effective July the 1st, perhaps?
Certainly.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And Jerry seconds.
I got one more thing to say. Also through Monday, if Monday is a holiday.
That's already the case.
That's,
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
and I think, council, I think right now, if we leave it just at this for right now, and we start to really work on the logistics, let's see how this COVID thing plays out, come up with some sort of workable solution, because we've got people down there really trying to do their jobs, and it's just overwhelming right now. Don?
Mayor, and Jay, I just want to make one comment. I still feel like we need to have a patrol stay in the park full time. One person on a golf cart or whatever. I'm throwing this out, not as a motion or anything, just so that y'all know what I'm
Because it's
thinking.
not on the agenda.
Have it marked, whether it's on a golf cart or whatever. That'll be a better deterrent than anything you can put in there. And he says they mess up the restrooms real bad, and golly, that's the nastiest thing in the world when they get in there.
Don't we have that vehicle that the police department bought that we're out rigging
We do have it parked at
for
the gate,
that, a
yes.
parked vehicle?
Yes, but, and like I was telling one of the council members earlier, after they've seen it a couple times, you know, they don't really pay a lot of attention to it.
Mayor,
Then we write
may
a
I
ticket.
comment though that this is not our agenda item, and I think that Will would be a relevant person to have in this conversation if we're
You're
gonna
correct,
extend to
Rebecca.
security.
Let's go on.
I agree.
Unfortunately, he's not here because they're having a thing for the first responders.
Oh, good.
So he couldn't be here tonight, but I do also think he should be a part of this
Well, maybe we
conversation.
can have that on a
That's
future
right.
agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you, we'll put that on a future agenda, Park Patrol. Shall we go to a vote? Any further conversation about this? All right, all in favor? All in favor, none opposed, thank you, council.
I have another motion, but go ahead,
On the
Jen.
same subject?
Mhm.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So I'd like to approve the suggestion to increase the age for free children from 3 years old to 6 years old.
Okay,
I'll second.
Jerry seconds. Discussion, all in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Rebecca?
And I'm ignoring 2. I'd like to leave the discounted rate at $3. Personally, item 4 is no change. Item 5 is no change. Item 6, move to approve to increase the the season park pass from $50 to $100.
Okay. That's the season park pass for out-of-city residents.
Oh. That was a motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Jerry seconds, thank you. Discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed.
And the 7th suggestion, move to approve the rental increase from $65 to $100 with a deposit increasing from $50 to $75.
Jerry,
I'll second that.
thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm just ready for this.
I have something to say.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just, to 100, okay. And, okay, I didn't read didn't read the second half, thank you. I have nothing to say.
Okay.
Right, all in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you, council.
On the,
Jay, are you happy?
Sure.
I have one more thing to say. On the one that, changed charges for during the week, once this COVID's over, I'm sure it's gonna die down to nothing again, just the locals. So, we'll discuss
We're not
that.
even considering that right now.
Yeah, but further into the year, maybe bring it up
That's
again
very
if we need
So
to.
we may have to raise it again then to
Offset
make up,
loss.
to offset.
Okay, we've already discussed this, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, item D. Discussion and possible action on amending resolution 2020-003 to allow the Bandera Economic Development Corporation to allow businesses to pay municipal hotel occupancy tax to apply for assistance under the stimulus grant application program. That would be a modification to Exhibit A. Jerry,
I'd like to make a motion.
go ahead.
I move to allow BEDC to provide stimulus grant funding to eligible businesses that pay hotel occupancy tax. Businesses must provide proof of payment of city and state hot funds, and there's 2 forms for that, city and state, okay?
For a certain period,
For a certain period,
for a period of 1 year prior to applying.
yeah.
That's-
Just like along with the other
Okay, you
requirements
want to
that are.
restate the motion, please?
Okay. I move to allow BEDC to provide stimulus grant funding to eligible businesses that pay hotel occupancy tax. Businesses must provide proof of payment of city and state hot funds for the prior year.
I'll second his motion.
Thank you.
Was that worded correctly?
I think so.
Does that sound right?
I think so.
Okay.
Except for one small detail. I think not only should they show proof of their hot funds, but they should also be required to show property tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it-
I agree.
Well,
I mean, I know
think
that's part of this
To amend
already,
that.
but we're adding a whole new division.
That would be a attachment, I guess. I would call it, to the prior requirements
Well, it
for
would be an
funding.
amendment to the,
Amendment, yeah.
to the
To the
exhibit A.
prior attachment A, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
exhibit A.
Listed as, exhibit A?
Well, it
Mayor,
says
are you in
based on,
discussion?
excuse me, I'm
Ma'am?
sorry.
Are you in discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
we
I
are.
have a statement from Lynn whenever, you didn't look at me since you're looking at it.
Go ahead and read Lynn's statement and then we'll go from there.
I just wanted to suggest that the property tax piece is already a part of the program.
Let me address that in just a second,
Sure,
please.
sure.
Lynn says I am for allowing those businesses that generate hot tax to the city be eligible for stimulus grant money. Since I'm not present, I asked city council be specific on the requirements. 2 forms, city and state, current city of Bandera hot tax, provide documentation for 1 year prior. 2, current hot tax report, provide documentation for 1 year prior. Request that verification supporting documents of these 2 forms, as well as property tax related to the business, be the requirements from the applicant to provide to the BEDC to receive funding. These need to be added to the exception, and it is not a requirement as of right now.
No, I thought it was.
The form itself, because I heard
I-
them discussing that.
I thought I did state that. There's 2 forms for it, if I didn't state it. There are 2 forms for that. One is the city hot, and the other is the state hot. That's the probably easiest and best way for documentation.
I think those 3 and the proof of the property.
Yeah, the other
Taxes.
prior requirements.
And although, this Exhibit A is talking about, sales tax, property tax, we need to make it specific to the businesses that do pay hot taxes to the city and make them a part of this Exhibit A, so. And I believe we got that.
I agree.
bill.
I think that's
I think
how it
so.
should go, correct?
As long as Jill understands the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you, council. I don't know how we overlooked that the first time.
Yeah, that was big error.
Alrighty. Item E, approval of ordinance number 375, approving budget amendments to the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. This is a technicality, folks. Council's already approved all these amendments, but we have to put it in an ordinance. So if I could have a motion,
Motion
please.
to approve.
Rebecca makes a motion to approve. Jerry makes a motion second. Makes a motion second. Jerry seconds. All in favor? All in favor. I'm sorry, did you want to discuss this, folks? All in favor? Thank you so much. All right, let's move down here to item 5. Request by council to place items on the future agenda. So far, we have applications, we have park patrol, park-related items. What else,
Application's
folks?
not on the next agenda, is it?
We're
The
also,
following.
ma'am?
I'm sorry, the applications are not going to be on our next agenda,
No,
correct?
this is a
The-
future agenda. I'm
future,
talking about
okay.
the July 16 agenda. Yes,
I have a request.
yes, sir.
I hope it's not too lengthy. Rein me in if you need to, all right?
It's recording you, so go ahead.
Discussion and possible action on stimulus grants that were prior approved, and checks were issued by BDC to businesses that did not meet requirements and guidelines and did not qualify as set forth by City Council and should not have been approved by BEDC.
Okay, we got that under. That might be a better workshop item with your new EDC board, but we'll certainly take it under consideration. Also, on the July 16th meeting, we're gonna have department reports, are we not? Are we at the point where we can do that now?
Hopefully we'll be open again.
Okay. Because, there's some things that I kicked around and I mentioned it, and Don and I have talked about it, and Jerry and I have talked about it, and it's just the streets. I mean, we need to figure out where we are on those streets, where we're going on those streets. We're getting into budget, we'll be putting some of this surplus cash we have into a fund strictly for, like $500,000 to start our CIP street project, but in the meantime, what are we doing about the streets? So,
We can put it on the agenda, and if we have to have them one at a time because of room come in, then we can do that.
yes, Don?
Mayor, I'd like to see us start a street department, which we have one, I understand it, Jay, we've talked, but I'd like to see a crew patching streets. And a
Oh.
maintenance,
Okay, this is agenda items, so
oh,
let's
okay,
not
well, that's what
discuss
I'm
it till we
saying, I'm
get there.
sorry.
Got it.
Street patching.
Did you wanna go?
I have one.
Yes, you do.
I would like to bring an idea to council, at one of a future meeting, discussion on seeking some funding, some grant money for a trail project.
Okay,
So,
you talking in the park?
no.
Oh, you got another project?
Yeah.
Alright, Jerry,
And if this isn't an appropriate request, I'm sure you'll correct me. I'd like to request for future agenda to discuss and possible action to direct city administrator to trim trees obstructing the city streets.
Jay, you gonna go trim the trees?
I need to.
Sorry.
we'll get to work on that right away.
You know what I'm referring to, Jay, right? The overhang over the
Yeah,
streets
well,
on some
there's
of
a
them.
lot of things going, y'all do know that we're shorthanded in city works, public works again, right? How far are we down, 3 guys?
Why?
Just 1, 2
We
now?
just hired a guy last week.
Just sick or what's wrong there?
Well,
Can I,
No, it's
should we even
it's not
talk?
an agenda
Oh,
item,
okay.
we need to
Okay,
just
I'm
take
sorry.
agenda items.
Did you have something?
So,
no, that was it.
okay, before we put 4 agenda items on an agenda, I need to ask council a question. July the 2nd is our first meeting in July, and that's July the 4th weekend. Do you wish to go ahead with that, or do you wanna have it the following week, and then we can still have another meeting
There's 5 Thursdays.
on the 16th if you wish?
I just wonder if we couldn't just push our 2 meetings in July to the 9th and the 23rd, just for that month, to keep them staggered.
I have no problem with that. Do we have everything going on the 9th and the
So
23rd?
instead of the 1st and the 3rd Thursdays, it would be the
Council.
2nd and the 4th.
I
Do we
no
have to
idea.
change the motion
Well, the
that I made?
23rd would ordinarily be,
I think everything would just shift
Okay.
according to the.
the 23rd would ordinarily be an EDC meeting night,
Oh, right.
but we could most likely change the EDC night.
We
Or
could
if we
also,
could meet earlier in the day.
maybe it would be a good joint workshop opportunity to have briefly before our meeting.
Did you say you would not be here on the 23rd?
I have no idea.
Well, for right now, we're shooting for the 9th and the 23rd.
All
How do you
right,
feel about
let's take
that?
a shot at it. I think most of my out-of-town stuff is done, I hope. Oh, Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Well, we also need to not lose track of where we're going right now. We need to keep going, so I don't want to postpone it a week and, you know, we'll start the draft agenda tomorrow and get busy on it.
So are you making that as an announcement so that the public is aware the next meetings will be on July 9th and
When I
July
get to be, I will do
23rd?
that. There was, yes, sir.
I just want to ask you a question.
Sure.
We were talking about maintenance on the streets in town and having continuous repair job or patching. Are you gonna have it on the agenda, or are they to ask for that, requested? You're gonna have
It's
it
on,
on,
you just requested it just a few minutes
to
ago.
be an agenda item in cutting the trees, okay?
Yeah. Also, on the 23rd, we should have our 3rd quarter financials, and after we're through with our audit and adjustments have been made, we should be able to give you some pretty solid numbers to start working from. We'll be hitting budget workshops early August.
We've already started, I mean,
Well, we started the
yeah,
budget
we started
process.
the budget workshop will probably come maybe mid-August. First to mid.
Sooner the better, I don't want that crunch at the end again. So, any other requests or item B announcements? So, for the month of July, our meetings will be on Thursday the 9th at 6 p.m. and Thursday the 23rd at 6 p.m. Unless that changes, and we'll let you know. Any other announcements? Yes, Rebecca?
I have 2. I participated in a Zoom call with Simple City and some of the city staff, so it's exciting that phase 1 of our city master plan project is beginning to roll out slowly and with much social distancing. The other announcement I have is that Jay and I next week on Wednesday
Tentative.
tentatively are going to tour the recycling plant, Republic representatives have invited us to come check out that facility, so that's exciting, and I believe if,
Field trip.
can you update council, announce about, or are you just not there yet with the recycling
We're not there yet.
program?
No, we're not.
Okay,
Another thing in announcements, IC2 contacted me, I believe you're all aware of that, that's the 63 small cities that are looking at economic recovery, and they contacted me, I'll be talking to them, I'll give you more of an idea of what this is really about, so I'm not sure what this whole IC2 thing is yet, but squared, I'm sorry, but we'll find out.
I was contacted.
Sounds
I have an
interesting.
interview tomorrow morning, so I'll
Yeah,
let you know
mine's
how
tomorrow
that
afternoon, so.
goes. Okay.
Alright, anything else, folks? Alright,
Move to
Jerry,
adjourn.
you have any announcements? Jay?
Sales tax is, still up.
Very good.
Nice.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Rebecca makes a motion to adjourn. Everybody seconds.
Yes, ma'am.
No discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed.
Thanks,
7-11.
everyone.